Hi, guys, and welcome back to Heaven's Authority Podcast. My name is Sean, this is Tony, this is Kimberly, and this is Justin. Tony and Justin here, they were here previously last week in the studio. And today I wanted to introduce to you the family here. They're going to be talking about, as a family, how God brought them together and how God carried them through up to today.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tony Draxx. We have Lighthouse Ministries. We do a program we call Faith Beyond Religion because God wants to have a relationship with us. He doesn't want us locked into religion and being distracted by things of the world. Religion's part of the world, but the relationship with God is eternal. Through His Son, we have salvation because He came to this world. He lived, He died, and was resurrected to save us all. And He is our Savior. This is my wife, Kimberly, our son, Justin. And we're all trying to work towards helping build the kingdom. We've had church ministry before down in Oregon. We're looking to build that ministry here in North Idaho. And, well, the first thing we need to do is first stay in the faith, be good stewards of God's word. And, of course, everybody's mission is to spread the gospel. You know, the love of Jesus, the love of God, and how everything works together to build the kingdom. Our testimony is how we came up here. Back in 2014, my wife and I, we both had different visions, but the visions were the same thing. And we were sure God was talking with us and wants us to move. So literally, I had a job I wasn't in risk of losing. We had 2 teenage kids. We were living in a place to where we were okay. We didn't have to worry about being on the streets. And then God says, get up and go. So we literally paid for a campground for a couple weeks. We sold some stuff, gave away a lot of stuff, and just packed up our RV and left. By the time we got to Coeur d'Alene area, North Idaho, we had $50 left to our name, but we never did without. We had food, we had a place to stay, we had shelter. God brought some of His people around to help us out through the struggles a little bit. You know, it wasn't boom, everything is hunky-dory, but it was never bad. Do you have anything to say about that?
I have some things to say before that.
Oh.
He asked us how we met, and how we met was I had just moved into my own place, and I come from a family of 5, and my parents owned a restaurant and bakery at the time, Molly's Bakery and Sweet Home. He comes from a family of 5, and the interesting thing was, at the time when I got my own place, I wasn't living the kind of life that I was supposed to. I knew about the Lord. I went to church my whole life. I went to a private school for like 7 to 9 years. It was in Carlton, Oregon.
Christian based?
It was Christian based, yes. And we had to learn scripture verses and all that. I met my husband in 1999, but we met at a bar. I was with my girlfriends and I was dancing, and he noticed, I guess I had a secret admirer for 3 weeks. I didn't even know. And but he noticed that I wasn't accepting every guy's offer because, I'm there to dance and be with my girlfriends. And we met, and we had all these things in common. And the thing we found really interesting is that there's 5 in my family, and it goes girl, boy, girl, boy, girl. I'm the last born, and his, it goes boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, and he's the last born. He has a sister who has how many boys?
4.
4 boys, and I have a brother who has 4 girls, and his mom remarried a man with 6 children. My mom married a man with 6 children, so it's really interesting the commonality
And
that we have.
we both write poetry, stories, do artwork,
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
and love God.
Yeah.
and love the Lord.
Now, was that Sweet Home, Oregon?
Sweet Home, Oregon. My
I
parents.
have a few friends that live there.
Okay, my parents owned Molly's Bakery. We were actually related to Molly through marriage. I my mom's sister, my aunt, married Molly's son. So she was getting older, and she was, she couldn't do it all. So we took over, and it was really fun. The funnest part was actually cake decorating. I got to learn how to cake decorate. That was the funnest part out of it all. Well, anyway, let's go further to meeting my husband.
That's
My
Lord.
lovely husband. Well, anyway, after we met, we got together, and I couldn't have children. There was something wrong with me physically to where my body wasn't telling my pituitary gland. No, my pituitary gland wasn't telling my body to do the cycles properly. And so I couldn't get pregnant. And then I met him, and we got together, and I got pregnant. And our son, our firstborn, who just walked out, he came early. He came really early. It was scary. I started bleeding one morning profusely, and we called the doctor, and they're like, we were waiting for him to call back, and he's like, finally we got a phone call from the hospital, and he said, why are you not at the hospital? And I'm like, I don't, no one told me that I had to go because I was bleeding so bad. I get there, and he said, okay, I'm hoping not to see certain something. And he looked at me and he said, okay, you are fully dilated. You need to go to the hospital now. The one in Salem
Hospital.
because they couldn't do the procedure there. So they rushed me to Salem, and as we're rushing, I could feel our son coming. I wanted to push, and I remember them saying, don't push, don't push. And when we get there, I had like 3 people work on me, one sticking a needle in my arm, one doing a catheter, and one telling me to count backwards. And then the next thing I know, I wake up, and here's our son in our arms. He was premature. He was 1 pound and 13 ounces. He hit the news. We thought we were going to lose him. My husband has some stories to tell too about that. It was a really rough time. He is the only survivor out of the whole.
Like the first 3 weeks at the neonatal care facility, he's the only survivor to this day. One girl made it to the age of 8, and all the rest, most of them passed away within the first couple months.
Yes.
Because, well, all different issues.
All sorts of issues. I was how far along when
You
came?
were 25 and a half weeks of gestation out of the 39, so they said 3.5 months premature.
3.5 months. So we lived at the Ronald McDonald's house because they said that parents who lived there, the babies had more of a chance. And so we decided to stay there. And I wasn't supposed to be making breast milk at that time. And so we had a whole bunch of people pray. And sure enough, here I'm making all this breast milk, so much that it kept filling up
The refrigerator.
the refrigerator at Dornbecker's for all these people. And they're like, can we use your milk? Can we use this milk? We have all this milk, and the
Because
babies
other
need
mothers
them.
weren't producing.
Other mothers were not producing. And I'm like, sure, go for it. We saw children with spinal bifida. We saw all sorts of drug babies. It was just horrific. And the Lord got us through. In fact, there was a specialist, my brother knew of a specialist, and he called him up. He had just, flown? He was a worldwide, what was he?
No, it wasn't your brother. We got lucky that...
No, it was. I remember him saying that.
There was a pediatric surgeon doctor who, he does charitable work at the Dornbeckers. And there was a few kids who were still there for like a lot of serious issues. And they're there for years, literally. And he's there, and then he goes through the other charts, the other children, and he saw our sons. And our son was fed a little bit early, so he actually had a blockage. His stomach wasn't, and the intestines weren't working right yet. And it blew a hole into his intestines. They did a colostomy. And, well, actually, he hadn't had it quite yet. The surgeon saw his records, said, I want to do this. The nurse is like, he's the nation's greatest surgeon for pediatrics, so you're not going to find anybody better. So we went with it, and of course, our son here went through, he survived, and at the time he was 3 pounds, 1 ounce when they did the surgery. They reversed it when he was 5 pounds, 3 or 4 ounces. After they reversed it, it took him a little bit to get it back into sync of life. And he lost a couple ounces, but not really bad. But then he had this big open wound. And they're like, well, you have 2 choices. He can stay here, but he's at higher risk. Or you can take him home and help him there, because obviously people come to the hospital not in the best condition. So literally he's got this big open wound. You can see the inside his belly. They showed us how to bathe him properly, dress it properly, and we went home with our son at 5 pounds 3 ounces.
3 ounces, yeah.
And he was about the time he would have been born by time now. About 12 weeks had gone through, 10 to 12 weeks, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Didn't you guys also say that I had something like with the way that I would cry as a newborn? It wasn't normal.
Your vocal cords hadn't developed yet.
Hadn't developed. So when you would cry, you made no sound. No sound at all.
Not to mention they had respirator tubes, which didn't help either.
And the first time, I guess my husband said that he died a few times. And it was really scary. And the very first time I got to see him, my husband got a phone call from his mother. And he had to step outside. And I'm in the rocking chair, and all of a sudden, I hear this beep, 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 and the nurses and doctors come rushing in, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. They couldn't find what was going on. Finally, they found something was unplugged, and then they finally plugged it in, and he was fine. But I was in a chair, and I was in a panic state. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, my son's first time I see my son, he's going to die right before my eyes, and my husband's not here. And all of a sudden, my husband walked in, and he's seen the nurses and doctors all over there. And he's like, what's going on? Because he already seen him die like few times on him before I even got to see my son, because I was in the Salem hospital
for a week
while he was at the Dornbeckers in Portland. So that was really terrifying, but they finally brought him back, and here he is.
So, in the testimonial side of this, his first week, so I'd spend 11 hours with him, driving hours, spend 11 hours with my wife. drive an hour, spend 11 hours with him, and I'm like 3 days in. A couple times during the first couple days while I was there, he had literally flatlined. They brought him back. Flatlined. They brought him back. But the third time, it was really bad because I'm there. The doctor does an examination and he's perfect and fine. In fact, the doctor was really happy with everything he saw, and so we're standing off to the side, and he's telling me the good things that he noticed that he thought was positive signs. The next thing we know, we hear a beep. It's flatlining. We look over, and he's as white as a sheet of paper. Next thing, bunch of nurses, techs, doctors, they all rush in, and they start working on him to figure out what's going wrong. And in myself, it was like when you jump into ice cold water, how it just kind of sucks the breath out of you and it's hard to breathe. Well, that's kind of where I was feeling. And then time and time again, when you watch a movie or a show and the doctors have to pull somebody out who's freaking out so they can work on the patient themselves. Well, I was afraid that if I panicked openly and somebody had to pull me out, it might be the one person he needs to help him. So I just stood there, and I like to say it was my own silent hurricane. So inside me, everything's just swirling and going crazy. On the outside, I look calm and peaceful. And 1 minute goes by, still flatlining. 2 minutes go by, still flatlining. And of course, without the heart pumping, you're getting deprivation to the brain of the oxygen. So the more time, usually the worse the results. Now, 3 minutes go by, still nothing. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is it. So I'm praying to God. I'm like, well, God, if you need to take him, obviously you're going to take him. I'm like, but better yet, let him live and be a living testimony. Now it's 3.5 minutes go by, still flatlining, and I'm thinking, oh, wow, I don't want him to die in the hands of just strangers. So I walk over there, just shove my arm through bodies about where I figured he'd be, found his shoulder, worked my way down his arm, found his hand, and it was so tiny, even with his hand wrapped around my fingertip, it didn't even cover my whole fingertip. But found his hand, and he squeezed, and beep, 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 beep. His heart starts beating, and everybody's like, what'd you do? What'd you do? What happened? None of them were who he needed. It was me. So then, I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And so then everything comes back up, and then the doctor's like, wow, you were like so calm and peaceful. He goes, normally we have to force the parents out because we got to do something. And then, of course, I told him about my little silent hurricane, and he goes, well, you're a really good father. He goes, how you doing? And I'm like, I think I'm okay. He goes, yeah, you're a good father, but you're a terrible liar. He goes, how many days have you been going back and forth without sleep? Or what kind of sleep have you been getting? I'm like, well, I come up here and I see him, and then I go down and visit my wife. She's on a lot of medication, so occasionally she'll go out, and then I get a little cat nap. And then he's like, okay, come on in, come this way. And as we're walking down, we're talking about what just happened. And he's like, we don't know the end results of what just happened from the oxygen deprivation, right? It's hard to tell in an adult, let alone a newborn infant. Mm-hmm. And then he whispers something to a nurse. He guides me into this room that's empty. It's got a couple hospital beds, and he's like, can you kick back on here and rest and relax? She walks in with a syringe, and he's like, okay, I'm going to give you a shot. It's going to help you sleep. And then, when you wake up, we'll continue from there. And I remember, boy, when he gave me that shot, fire went in my arm. And he's like, count backwards from 10. And I think I got to 6, or no, count to 10. And I got to 6 or 7, and I could hear myself slurring the numbers. And then last thing I remember is having an image of my wife holding our child. But they were separated. And then I woke up a few hours later, and we talked about it, and he said everything that he could see in an examination after what happened, he's good to go. It's just time will tell. And, well, I was working at the time. We had decent insurance. But work gave me 10 days of emergency family medical leave. And then they're like, we need you back. You're too important. Well, I had paid time off, sick time. Used those 4 or 5 days that I had there accumulated. They're like, you got to come back. I'm like, well, I have vacation time. Like about 10 days worth of vacation time. So I took the vacation time. And then at the end, they're like, because I knew where I needed to be. Both for her and for him. And during the time that I was there, when the parents were around and with their child, the child did much better. When they weren't around, like some parents, a good example would be the ones with the baby with the spina bifida. They came in,
He died.
saw the baby for about 3, maybe 5 minutes at the most, cried, left, and never came back.
Never came back. Yeah. It was bad.
It was bad. And it's hard to see the baby like that. But, my wife and I are like, hey, can we give these babies love?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, the more contact they have and the more love they're given, the better their chances of survival. So we saw baby after baby, though, passing away. One was
sad. It was just
born
really...
to a 14-year-old girl who was a drug heroin addict. The baby was born with a heroin addiction. And so you can see the nurses crying every time they actually administered heroin to the baby to keep it from going through the withdrawal symptoms. And trying to wean it off of this stuff. But 14, 15 days later, the baby passed away. So I knew where I needed to be. I saw every time I interacted with my son, touched him, the positive results.
And we had a lot of people pray. Without the prayers, I don't think we would have made it. Or our son. We had a lot of people in my family, and they would my mom went to a different church, my brother went to a different church, so we had all these churches praying for us. At that time, my husband was listening to what country? It was a radio station, some kind of radio station.
It's a country station.
Mike and
Amy.
Mike and Amy, and he called in, and we had like people praying for us and saying, and we have one person says I have like preemie clothes that I can donate to you. I mean, we just had people after people calling in on the radio saying, we have this, we have that, we're praying for you. And at the end, was it after he was born that Mike and Amy did a radio thing with us, or was that...
It was after he was born.
born.
And I called in to talk with him, and then I gave a little testimony on their radio show.
Yeah, so we had all these people praying for us. And I do remember one time we were walking, and I said, I just feel like screaming. We were alone. We were in the park. He said, do it. Just scream. And I remember he said, I'll go first. And he just screamed. And I started screaming too. And he's like, do you feel better? And I'm like, actually, yeah, I do. because it was so hard and difficult, but God walked us through it. He got us through, and he did miracles. Like I said, he's alive. And the other miracle was, like I said, I was making breast milk when I shouldn't have been. And I made so much that I had an opportunity to share my milk with the other babies there. It was sad that they died, but it was such a good feeling to know that I got to do that for the other babies.
They had a better chance of
They
survival.
had a better chance of surviving. What other things have he walked us through?
Well, like I said, I prayed that he gets to be a living testimony, and 25 now in April will be 26 later, he's still alive.
Yes.
And I know a lot of it has to do with the sacrifices. It was like nothing else in the world mattered. It was my son, my wife, and God.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus too.
And then,
all of us together made the difference.
Yeah, and then later on, as he was growing up, we ended up with our daughter. Her name is Deanna, and the way that he came, they were scared. My family was scared that it could happen again. And
High-risk pregnancy.
High-risk pregnancy, because the way he came, they had to cut me the old-fashioned way. So it was further down than they were hoping. She came, and then I was cut the regular way, but I had also other complications, and it was just like I ended up with an infection, and so I had people praying for me on that too. She's alive and well, but it was just at that time with our son. I want to back up. I was working for the hospital as at the time they called it environmentalist services. In other words, for housekeeper. But I had to learn all these stuff on germs and pathogens, and I called them up to get some stuff to disinfect our home. So I literally did the ceilings and walls and everything because I wanted it so clean for our son that nothing would happen. And then we, the hill? Do we talk about the hill?
Not today.
Not today.
Kangaroo therapy too.
The kangaroo therapy. But,
kangaroo therapy.
What it is the more you hold the baby, the more they survive. They thrive because of contact with the parents.
Mm-hmm.
And also part of that is one of the nurses adopts, more or less, the care of that child. So then we had one lady who did that. So she named him Baby Doll Blaze. His middle name is Blaze because he blazed his way in the world. And she would take care of him. But it's scary to hold such a tiny child. I mean, he was like a Ken doll.
Yeah.
He was skinny, tiny. His diapers were about this big.
Actually, it's the size of I measured it. It's the size of a Visa card.
And he swam in that.
He swam in that.
Where most babies are in a diaper about like this, and they're normal fit. So we each have a cup. We each kept one of the diapers. Didn't think to bring the little photos of him within. They took a couple pictures of the first 15 minutes he was born. And they let me in because they know the sooner there's contact, the better the chances of survival are.
Oh, I do want to talk about when we came here. You were talking about that coming to Idaho. Oh my goodness. He was talking about coming to Idaho, and it made me think back. We only had $50 at the time, and faith. So $50 in faith, let me tell you. We came with a group of people who introduced us to. No, that was a different people. But anyway, we were involved with
It was a
Hebrews.
Sukkot.
So we were in
Feast
a
of
Sukkot,
Tabernacles.
and we met
Okay.
these people at Sukkot, and we got together with them and did Bible studies, and we all felt compelled to do a fast, so we did a fasting, we did prayer, we did deep studying and praying, and we all felt like we were being led this way, east, so we decided to go to Idaho. And it was really rough. We had an RV, we had
Our truck.
our truck, and we were following these other people because they kind of knew where they were going. And we got there, we got to Sukkot, and it was hard though on the way because we didn't know what we were going to do for food. In fact, I was crying and praying. I'm like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
But we never did without.
We never did without. We really never did without, because the people that we were following, they took care of us. And we got to Sukkot, and it was awesome time. We met some people there, all sorts of people. It was fun. We got to learn more of the Hebrew things. Then afterwards, we were like, where are we going to go now? What are we going to do? We have nowhere to go. And we met there, was it Nathan?
Not yet. At first, it was Richard and his wife. I forgot her name. It was a Martha or something. And we stayed at their house for a couple, like 10 days.
Oh, that's right.
And they had an outbuilding. They had room for the RV.
Oh, Mike. His name was Mike. His name was Mike,
Oh.
just like Mike and Shelley.
Oh, okay. Well, there's also Richard involved somewhere in one of the. We had a little short stay. We had stayed with them first. Then we did a few days at the other place, like 3 days. They could only have us for like a weekend. And then Nathan and his father invited us out there. And we were at the Brand family farm.
Nathan and Brand. Yeah, the Brand family farm.
And then the worst winter in like mega years
Yeah, we
happens
Yeah,
while we're there.
We ended up in Idaho here
Well, once we got to the Brands,
in
the
2000.
winter, just after we got set up, winter
Yeah,
had kicked
it was 2015.
15.
So it was like September, October.
In October, the winter
October,
hit.
The winter
November.
hit.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it was mid-November that really hit hard.
Oh yeah, it was really bad, really really bad. We were told that downtown in Coeur d'Alene,
Everybody in Coeur d'Alene, Hayden, Post Falls.
the electricity was out for like a week. It was so bad. They said it was the worst storm in.
It was like 18 days before
70
they got
years.
to where we were, because outlying is after the clusters, right? And
The things
we did have a
went through.
generator that we had brought up, and
Things we went
that
through there.
so we'd run it a few hours, 4 hours a day, enough to heat up the hot water tanks. Everybody gets to take their showers, cook meals, the dinner meal. And then we stayed in the RV with pillows all over the windows in 15-degree weather.
Yeah, I forgot
Our
about
kids
the
stayed
pillows.
inside by the fireplace. They did have a wood stove, but there was only so much room.
Yeah. So how was the weather difference from Oregon to?
Oh, in Oregon, we normally get 3-4 inches, and then it lasts like 4 or 5 days, and then it's gone.
But here,
Then weeks later, an inch, then gone in a couple days. But here,
it was bad.
it was bad. I mean, and
At
then also
least-
we had freezing rain when we got up here too, and that was the worst part
Yes.
that took the power out.
And the RV the RV that we were in, there were certain things that did not work, like the heater didn't work. The shower didn't work very well. In fact, we had to take buckets of hot water, bring it in, let it cool down a little, and get in the shower and just like take
Sponge
cups
bath,
and
more or
just
less.
pour it over us and wash our bodies. And we even did that in the cold weather. They had a pump. The brands had a pump.
Surface well.
And you'd have to take. They had gas stoves, which was really good, and they had these huge buckets. And in the morning, actually, they had a whole bunch of water before, and we had to take that water and we had to pour it in there to get it going, prime the pump. So we
thaw it out.
Thaw it out so we could do the pump, and we'd get the water from the pump. It was kind of like living back in the
older days.
the older days. And we'd have to take that water, use some of it for flushing the toilet, and then the other we would heat up, get it in the shower there in their house, and we would just, wash our bodies that way. But our kids got to learn how to build a fire for the first time, and God walked us through all that. We got to stay with other people. Jennifer, both Jennifers.
Yeah, 2 different Jennifers. One was married.
Oh, 3.
Yes.
Jennifer and Richard, I think.
Yes.
And Jennifer, some other ones. It was like 3 Jennifers. It was like, oh my goodness, Jennifer. It was really interesting. But, oh my goodness, the things we went through that winter, God just walked us through. I mean, prayer after prayer. We did get to call my mom to let them know what was going on. And they prayed for us. So it was like I said, it was like just living on $50 in faith and on God's hand, and he just walked us through the whole thing, and here we are.
And then, finally got a job. Still, we were staying with these people, and then we were able to save up enough to put the down payment on an apartment and get in. And actually, through her life and my life, we had a lot of instability with our parents. So, I mean, the most I think I ever stayed in one place was almost 3 years, around 3 years. And we were able to stay in the same place for over 7 years with our children. So, we wanted to give them a stability that we didn't have.
Yes. I do have a testimony. May I share a testimony?
No. Go ahead.
Okay, after we were here for several years, in 2000 and we met some friends through his work. I think it was 2020. I ended up, at the end of 2020, I ended up with a horrible issue on my leg, and it didn't go away. And we prayed and prayed, and it didn't go away, and it didn't go away.
An infection.
So it ended up in infection. I had to go and to the doctor, and they said, you're too sensitive, you're going to need surgery. And so I had to have surgery done, and it was in a place that was not good. And I remember I had the surgery done, and the surgeon told me some things, but there were some things he just didn't tell me. And we were on the 3rd floor. I was not supposed to be walking. My husband, my son, and our daughter all worked in Washington at the same place at this time. We had a dog, and we lived on the top, on the 3rd floor, no elevator, so you had to go up and down the stairs. And we had a friend's daughter come and help me for a while, but then there was some other issues that went on, and she couldn't stay the whole time. And so here I am alone, and I'm bawling my head off because I had to go up and down those stairs to take our dog to the bathroom because he was a puppy. And it would reopen and then close, reopen and close. And at that time, I didn't know what to do. I was just crying and bawling. And then one time, when they were gone, I was really desperate and I didn't know what to do, and I was just crying. I was crying because I say the name Yahshua. I don't know if anyone of you know the Hebrew, but we are Hebrews, and I would say Yahshua, 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 help me, help me. Send angels, help me, help me. And I remember one time, all of a sudden, no one's there. No windows were open. It was summer, close to spring. All of a sudden, this gust of wind came. It just went, and it stopped, and it blew on me. And then all of a sudden, I felt this peace come over me, and I was just like, and I knew it was the Holy Spirit. The Spirit landed on me, and I just felt so peaceful. And after that, that was in
You started to heal a lot quicker too after that too.
A little bit, and then I still had issues, and my mom and dad said, well, we're coming to get you. You want to come here? I'm like, sure. So I went to their house, but because of the bumps and the jolts, traveling from here to Oregon, it reopened it. Oh, it was a horrible time for me. It would heal and reopen, heal and reopen, heal and reopen. I tripped one time on steps. My mom accidentally my mom was driving and something happened and it reopened it. I had to go to the urgent care. Other things happened. Then finally, they're like, just make her stay in bed. She can't move. She can't do anything. This is what you have to do. We'll keep you on antibiotics. So finally, eventually, little by little, I started to heal. And then my husband came. I was there at my parents' for 3 months. Finally, my husband came and got me. And the trip back, of course, what did it do? It reopened it just a smidge.
But it was much smaller.
I get there and I start healing, and it was amazing. By June or July, I think I was healed completely. And then in November, I got sick really, really bad. Really, really bad. I was sick for 16 days, and I could not keep anything down. I lost weight so much. And to tell you the truth, one time, I felt myself dying. I felt myself slipping. And I told my husband, you've got to take me to the hospital. Finally, we go to the hospital, and they put IVs in me. I was really dehydrated. And every night that I was sick, I had just horrible nightmares because my fever was so bad. And I finally got better. After I got better, I had to go back to the doctor because they wanted to check on me. And she was looking at my charts, and she looked at me and she said, do you know how low your blood sugar was? I said, no, but I know I almost died. And she did not say a word. She just looked at me like, yeah, I almost died. And the Lord still pushed me through. he still was holding my hand. He said, I'm not going to let you go. He had other plans. But that year was a horrible year. I almost, between the surgery and then being sick for 16 days, it was bad. But I'm here. The Lord just walked me through it all. He was there right by my side. And my sweetheart, he did what he could. Yep. I had to share that because that was a big one. That was a big testimony right there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you.